The Fast and the Furious update was once teased by the Crew Motorfest on a door, in a video, in their studio. But turned out, they just like naming their doors silly things in the studio. So, since then, waiting for the Maui update, I put together a Fast and Furious playlist, a Fast and Furious update with cars, concepts, events, music, themes, everything that you could need for a playlist. And I have the whole thing planned out, and this video that you're about to watch is a full concept for Fast and Furious update. By the way, head down there and subscribe, and after this one, just check out one of my other videos. It'll be in your recommended. Watch it after. So let me list out the things we actually need for a playlist. First of all, events. The events have to have cars, obviously, then preferably a brand new gimmick event, theming, and music too. Then we also need a brand new car for the requirement, because it has to go in the year 2 pass, be a new vehicle that you will have to buy or get given for free in the pass. Then we need a reward vehicle, probably one other buyable vehicle somewhere. But then it's just the start, the events in the end. And I have that all planned out. Something important to remember about the first vehicle that has to be brand new, the year 2 pass one, the playlist requirement, is that that also has to be the vehicle used for the first event of the playlist. So my pick for the brand new car that should be added that update is the 1993 Honda Civic EJ1, the sedan version of the Civic. Now, if you don't recognize why, it's because this thing is the heist vehicle that they use in both of the heists in-game. And this will be our first event. But let me not get ahead of myself. The playlist start would be right over here, at this mechanics venue. This mechanic venue should be done up a bit, you know, made all fancy, give it the Fast and Furious theme, give it like a local kind of car meet thing, put some good cars here. What I'm thinking of, essentially, is an even better done style of the lowrider vs. donk things that they did, where they made these little local block party thing with music and cars and a stand and everything. This is where once you've bought the Honda Civic EJ, which I'm using the Integra as a replacement here, of course yours would be stock, you drive up here, you drive up to the playlist start, and you begin the Fast and Furious playlist. I could toy with a few ideas for the intro video. Either the intro video should be like a little, you know, just cinematic of all the shots from the movie, or, and I think this could be fun, make the intro video the original trailer for the Fast and the Furious. I say even give it a Motorfestified this little screen here, and then just straight rip the trailer, basically. And I don't mean recreate it in-game, I mean just put the trailer there. They've done this once before, where the police update, the intro video is just the cinematic trailer that they showed. And that position right there would then activate the Fast and Furious playlist. So with the playlist start being over here, the first event would be over here. Under this bridge, this would be the location. This event is called the Opening Heist. It's a simple name, don't worry, the names get cooler later on. But of course, the drive with your Integra, oh, well, your Civic sedan, would be from here to there. The Civic, not Integra, would of course be customized to look like the heist ones, those being blacked out, those being with green underglow. There would be 4 of them, and this would be the brand new event type. There would be a truck that you follow, and you get more points for steering close to the truck. The closer you are to the truck, the more points you get. Sometimes a specific side of the truck, maybe front, maybe back, maybe the other sides, either of the sides, will light up and you can get a few more points there, but that will be timed where you gotta maximize staying in those zones the longest to get those extra points, and placing a bunch of obstacles everywhere, just like this, where you have to actually hide and get all systematic and go under the truck. Yes, bring back the under the truck Driver San Francisco style for this event. It would be points based, follow the truck, staying closest to it, front forward, avoiding stuff just like this, just like from the hoonigan events, just like from the lowrider vs. donk events. But every now and then, a section of the side of the truck would glow, and you gotta go in that side to make more points. Here is my proposed route for the race, obviously beginning where the event start is, near the road there, then following through and just going through highways, basically, as that's where all the obstacles and stuff will be. You follow the truck, you get more points, and it takes you all the way through the city to the very end, and then also giving us a nice panning up shot of the city at nighttime, just like in the actual movie. Event 2 would be right here, this one titled Sweet Ride, which of course is a line from later in the movie, but we're using it now because there's, well, no lines in this part of the movie. This bit is of course based on this scene where Brian drives around in his Eclipse. Now, the whole point of this scene is for him driving it in a straight line, spinning out, yada yada, but he's testing the Eclipse basically, and it ends with a beautiful skyline shot. Now, just because of this shot, I was going to actually, for the whole playlist, use Oahu, but instead, I'm using this section right here and taking some creative liberties with the actual event, because this gives us a lovely shot of the city. And you would drive there in your, well, I guess you'd still be in the Civic sedan, but you'd of course use the brand new Street Tier 2 Fast and Furious Edition Eclipse. This is the base Eclipse made to mimic it, but naturally, the one that I would want in game, put in Street Tier 2, would be this one, exactly. And the layout of this event is pretty simple. It's just pushing this car to the max, because that's the closest we can do without just having this thing going in a straight line. And I sort of had two options here. Do I want to make this a, like, stunt event? Or do I want to just make it a regular race that can be used in the rest of the game in the custom mode as a regular race? And I went with that one. So essentially just put cones everywhere around this race. Put it to sunrise, not the current time that it is. I guess a shorter event, it depends how many laps you want them to do. But I don't think we need to waste the player's time that much. I think it's fine just having this event at least. Go in here. But I will say, have a Gymkhana meter from the Hoonigan playlist where you gotta do different things, but have it re-stylized to look like the Fast and Furious theme. Just like the photos are re-stylized to look like whatever playlist they're in. Then ending it here by the pink tree, drifting around the pink tree, and finishing the event and giving us a nice little pan-up skyline shot. The other option is a lowrider vs. donk drag race style event from here up to about like here, and it would only be in one car. But my thinking is, because we have other lowrider v donk drag events coming up, it just feels wasteful to put another one here. Instead, let the player drive around a bit. And I'll spoil it now. I would want the Eclipse to be the reward vehicle of this playlist. Why not the Supra, Sid? Why not the Supra? The Supra, woo! Because I feel like the Supra, 1, we can already make it pretty well in-game already. 2, it's probably going to make a much better Summit car than it will a playlist reward car. I'd rather get the Supra in the Summit. Event number 3 is over here on the map by these two warehouses. This event is called Tune the NOS Timer, You'll Run 9s. And I know what you're probably thinking. At the moment, all these events have been based on, essentially, before the first 10 minutes of the movie. But there's a reason, because there's a whole lot of movie here which isn't anything to do with cars. It's drama, it's tense, it's undercover, it's yada yada. You'll see. So yes, we are packing in a lot of events early on, but there's a reason for that. This one is going to be based on this scene right here, where we see the gang, the crew, pull up. Where there will be 4 players, including you, and they'll be based on these cars right here. I don't mind if we use the Skyline R34. I know people would probably be upset. Look, if they ever got the R33, they could replace it. But whatever. This thing, I have no idea what to do. And then we have this thing which maybe add this thing in the game actually. This would be a race through the city. However, I wouldn't want this to actually be a race. Instead, it would be like the Hawaii Scenic Tour events, where you don't actually have to win the race, you're just driving. Because they weren't really racing, they were just really speedy driving through the city. Starting right here, the event would take a bit of a scenic tour. It wouldn't go directly to the finish location, and the finish location is this restaurant, because I wanted a restaurant next to an auto shop just because of the vibes, and they do end at a food place. That's the final location, but as you can see, you would cruise throughout the city, go in here and there, everything looking nice, the mood would be set, and the music would be a-blaring. And the vehicle you would be using would be the Nissan S14, customized, and I guess add the official one so that it can be in Street Tier 2. And this one looks nothing like the one in movie, so yeah, maybe add the official in Street Tier 2, and so it's quicker and looks closer. And of course, after your 4-person race, with everyone named after the specific people they would be, except for you, I suppose, you would end up here. You wouldn't be in this thing, you'd be put back in your Civic, unless you've changed whatever car you're in. And the next is Event 4. Event 4 is called That Your Car? With a question mark and written exactly like that. That Your Car.
That your car?
And the location for That Your Car would be over here by... Is there any name tags I can go by? The Good Shepherd Church. It would be in this parking lot. That is where you would get the event start. This event would, of course, be based on the iconic, first in the franchise, drag race with the Eclipse versus the Integra. We have that. The Civic EJ, which, like I said, I would want that to be added as the beginner vehicle. These two would obviously be Street Tier 1. I don't mind that they're Street Tier 1, because this race isn't about these two. It would be a 4-person drag race, but I don't care that these two want anything to do with it. It's all about the Eclipse, which I would want a unique version in Street Tier 2, and the RX-7, which is already in Street Tier 2, so it just works out perfectly, because it doesn't matter if these middle two fall behind. I want to quickly jump in and say, for this event, based on something that I talk about in a different event, when you're doing a race, you kind of want to win that race, and the game needs to set the goal as winning the race. And the Eclipse doesn't win this race. So my thinking is either we could still race in the Eclipse, and at the end of it, it just, you know, has a cutscene where it shows the RX-7 took ahead again. Or the other option is, instead of this event being in the Eclipse, have this event be in Dom's RX-7. And of course, this event I would want to mimic the Lowrider versus Donk drag race system, with the charging your NOS, with the limited NOS, and for it to be a drag race. Just like the footage you're watching right now, all the way to the end until the road changes. If you wanted a image representation, it's this. It would be from here all the way to there. This would be the end point of the race. And a mandatory thing with this is, obviously it would be nighttime, but you must put crowds and crowds here, and yes, they can be behind barriers, fine, but just crowds and like a party and like a proper block being written off, you know? Some good atmosphere stuff. This one needs atmosphere. And also, when using your NOS in the event, I hope they add an effect. You know, the NOS effect from Fast and Furious? That. The as well as the sound, etc., etc. And after you finish that race over there, yes, we're finally making it out of the first 20 minutes of the movie, because there's a whole lot of whatever going on. There's the crime, there's the gang, there's the undercover, yada yada, there's the building the Supra, there's that whole entire arc, until finally, almost an hour later, we get to what would be my favorite event in this whole playlist. That would be event number 5, More Than You Could Afford, Pal, which would be just what you expect. Based on the iconic race of the Supra versus the Ferrari, it would be a coastal one-on-one drive. The event start location would be over here, next to this beach, next to this hut, because I would want the actual event to start here, because I think it's a nice little starting location. Now, there wouldn't be any crowds for this one. Obviously, it was an impromptu race, but there would be traffic. Traffic must be on for this one. I don't really need to draw the route for you because you know, it's a coast race. It would just be along the coast all the way through right here to get to the coast, all the way to where the playlist begins. This place, which would have been done up. This one, yeah, this one, like even recording it, the footage that you're watching right now, I really enjoy the idea of this one. It's easily one of the most iconic bits. One of, obviously this whole first movie is just so iconic. But the coastal cruise with the race, with the whatever, I know that I'd want cutscenes in this whole playlist as well, so if it was matching with a cutscene, oh, it'd just be perfect. It'd just be perfect. And obviously you'd be in the Supra for this race for the first time, the iconic Supra. Just like a lot of the playlists do, this would be you getting to drive a future Summit car, but in the playlist before it comes in the Summit. And then once you finish that event, you would then have to go to the Storm Drain for event number 6, where specifically in the Storm Drain, well, the event start location would be right here on this little curved bit, because I don't want it too close to this event start, but realistically it's close to this event start. Essentially, you have to drive to about here from where you are right now. Event 6 is called Visualise the Win. This event would be another lowrider versus donk drag race style event, with the charging up NOS, with the boosted NOS gauge, with the limited NOS driving, with the drag race style. That's what this event would be. I would obviously delete all the bushes, and now you might be thinking, hang on a minute, Sid, they're in the salt flats for that section of the movie. Yes, they are in the salt flats, but we obviously don't have any salt flats. That's not even the first interesting bit about this, because yes, I'm using the storm drain as a replacement for the salt flats, which is already a bit but there's two bits that we could really do here, because the iconic bit is this guy losing a race to this guy in the S2000. But the whole point of this, and the reason I can't really make the race this, is either you have to lose, so I can't really put you as this guy, because what the goal would be to lose the race, and I don't really want to put you as the bad guy car, because it feels weird to put you as the bad guy's car. But then again, bring the bad guy's car as like a Summit car so that people can win. Whatever, I want Summit cars. So instead, the race that I'm going to do here, it's not the iconic race from this section. Instead, it would be this race. Racing a white RX-7 in the Silvia S14, like Letty does. And she actually wins that race. It's inconsequential, but it's still a race at the same place, and we can put the other thing happening in the cutscene, you know? And, of course, the usual lowrider versus donk style. So that would be 2 drag races added with this playlist. One that drag races through the city down this long road here, and then one that drag races down the storm drain down here, keeps going, keeps going, keeps going, keeps going, stops here. I think it'd be pretty cool to get 2 drag races like that, you know? And then we finally get to the climax of the movie, or the co-climax. There's 2 climaxes, I guess. Some of your missus has probably never heard about. Event number 7 would be called Let's Make This Happen. It would be situated, the event start right here next to the airport, as it's going to be the same as the beginning event type that I mentioned. It would be the same chasing the truck, however, it would follow the highway that goes around this area of the map. But you'd be doing the same thing in the same cars. Once you get past this city, which, well, there's not really a city in this whole thing, which is, creative liberties, the event would end around here, because, you know, you need to be in the middle of nowhere, convincingly, for this event to finish. If you wanted a better showcase of the route of this event, this is what it would be. It would be through here, down to there. You would either do this in the Supra with the Civics all around you, or you would just also be doing it in the Civic. But it makes more sense to do it in the Supra, as, you know, it's the iconic stuff, you know? You're coming in to save, Dom! So you would end that event right about here. Well, the final event is a long drive back, unfortunately, because that's gonna be nowhere near here. Instead, The final event is back in the city, and it would be here. This is what I'm giving the honorary official Dom's house. It's the best one I could get. It's got the push-back driveway here. It's got the garage. It's a big house. It's not on a straight road. There is more believable ones that are on straight roads and very suburban, like these ones. But this one makes for a better event start location. So you start here for the final event called I'm Not Running, which is another head-to-head, one-on-one race with the Supra against Dom's Charger. One is that it would go all around the city just as the other event did, but at some point it would have a hard turnaround, like a checkpoint with a wall at the end of it. You'd get to here and it would just have a hard stop, just turning around immediately. That would force the player to slow down a bit, because the idea would be, instead of having them as two separate events, well then again, maybe people just want them to be two separate events, but you would get to here and you would then drag race for the final stretch of the event all the way till the end, until this point where it would cut you off with a cutscene of the iconic crash. However, yes, the other option is that the event ends here, and instead it becomes a drag race event. The last event is here, and then, you know, you jump into it and it's a drag race, because people might prefer that. But regardless, you end here with 8 or 9 events, drive all the way back to the start of the playlist, and collect your Mitsubishi Eclipse Fast and Furious Edition. That would be the Fast and Furious playlist. Let me know if you enjoyed the concepts, the ideas, all of that, because it was exhausting to put together.